All right, welcome to another episode of Talkin Ball with Pat Leonard. A very special guest today, Super Bowl 21 MVP, two-time Super Bowl champion, the host of the Sims Complete podcast, along with his son Matt on the Believe Network. Number 11, the great Phil Simms. Phil, thanks so much for being here.
All right, Pat. Good to be on. A couple things. When you say Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl 21, I go, oh, wow. That was a long time ago now. I mean, we just did 58. So that's one thing. And I'm the co-host along with my son. So we try to get that straight every time. He likes to do all the talking. I listen, just like all parents do with their children, right?
I specifically called you a host and not co-host because I've been listening to all the episodes and I knew you didn't want that CO in the front.
yeah. I don't even know if I can't remember what I said about it. I just do it to give my son a hard time.
To needle him.
I'm trying to get even. It's going to take a long time to get even, but I'm going to see if I can get there.
Well, Super Bowl 21 may feel like a long time ago, but my editor and good friend Andy Clayton told me to tell you, he still holds it against you what you did to his Denver Broncos. So,
okay. I when I've rewatched the Super Bowl probably about 2 or 3 times in my life, and I come to the same conclusion every time I'm watching it.
What's that?
Wow, that game could have turned a lot of different ways, and their defense was really good, really good. I mean, they had some players, and when you're playing, it's probably like you when you hear other radio hosts, you go, "Well, they're no good. I'm better than him," and when you're playing, you never think, you don't ever give the other team a lot of, oh, they're really good. You just go, yeah, we'll beat them or whatever. But as I look at it and like I said, revisit it, I just go, wow, they were loaded on the defensive side. So it was a good day for us that we were able to play well against them. So
fascinating. Well, that's what made it MVP worthy. Need to tell our listeners really quickly about Bet Online. It continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-the-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite team's path to the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to Bet Online today to become part of the team. And remember to use the promo code BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. And all Phil, right. You're here because I want to talk Giants and I want to talk quarterbacks.
Okay.
You and Matt have been doing a fantastic job breaking down the college quarterbacks, the guys coming out in this NFL draft, and I want to get to that. But I want to start with you with the Giants' current quarterback,
sure.
Daniel Jones, and the comment that Rich Eisen made as kind of the tee-off point. Rich Eisen of NFL Network coming out of the NFL Combine saying one of the rumors that he heard is that the Giants are, quote, done with Daniel Jones. So my question to you is, do you think that's true? Do you think the Giants need to be planning for life without him? And eventually, do you think that means the Giants should be going quarterback at 6? Kind of a loaded question there, but starting with Daniel at the top.
It's okay. Rumors, I hear a lot of rumors out of the NFL Combine, and usually I don't even repeat them just because let's put it this way. Let me just be the devil's advocate here. How about the Giants putting it out there? They're done with Daniel Jones. So everybody thinks they're going to draft a quarterback at number 6. So we can get people to move into number 6 and get that spot. So they want a quarterback, which there will be teams behind them that definitely want a quarterback in this draft, I think, or we'll see how it rolls out with other free agencies at. But you put out those rumors so people run with them and you create the narrative. And now are the other teams, look, everybody does this every year. They want you to think one thing when you're really just trying to set it up to help you and to get done what you want to do. So that was my first thought. But yeah, could they draft somebody at number 6? I guess so. I don't think they will. That's just my opinion right now. I don't think they will. Daniel Jones, we'll see how he comes back. I heard a rumor or somebody was talking, he's behind schedule. Well, I don't know if there's a true schedule when it comes to having surgery like that and all that, but he has time. Daniel Jones, I'll just say this real quick. I'll let you ask me something else, but he's got size. He's mobile enough, and I think he'll come back from the ACL where he'll still be mobile, and he's got a good arm. So he has some things that you really like about a starting NFL quarterback. Now he's just got to put it on the field and do it consistently. He had a great year 2 years ago. This past year, it was bad in all aspects for the New York Giants.
How can Daniel turn the tide back to where it was with the arrow pointing up after that playoff run? Like, what does he, of course, there's some things like, as you alluded to, the offensive lines construction, things like that, that are out of his control, but what can he control about, like, that you see as a quarterback yourself that he can do better on the field to stop, Giants fans from getting antsy about this position, from feeling like they don't have the answer there?
Well, listen, early, the Giant fans will be looking at him with a really tough eye, or whatever. I'm trying to say it politely here. He's going to have to overcome that. And, he's just going to have to play a certain way and communicate. Just let everybody know that you're the man, and just be determined, be tough. And when I say being tough, of course he's tough on the field and all that, but I mean, be tough in the meetings, be tough in practice, and lead. I think that's one thing, and you and I have talked about, and I talk about with everybody. The quarterback, it's a special position, and more now than ever before. You can influence the players around you on the football team with your play, of course, but with your attitude, with your communication, and just who you are as a person. And so I would think those are just parts of things that Daniel Jones needs to do. He needs to go in there and just be the man. By God, walk around with confidence, show everybody you're the guy. When you get in the huddle, whatever it takes, shut up. I'm ready to talk. Don't talk in my huddle, whatever it takes. But, you got to be yourself. So we'll see. But that's the first thing you can do. You got to really, I lived through many of these things. You just got to put that shield around you and just know it's going to be rough, and just be willing to fight. And that's what Daniel Jones has to do.
As a player yourself, and as a leader, and as a quarterback and a championship quarterback, is a lot of that minute to minute, situation by situation, having the right feel for what's necessary in a moment? Because I know, there've been stories told of, yourself and other big personalities on your team, whether it was, Parcells all the way down, of seemingly like having the finger on the pulse of what was necessary, which sometimes would be uncalled for, but other times was pressing the right button. Is that an accurate way of kind of how you would have to approach it, or how you approached it as a player?
I think it's a great assessment of it. Yes, the head coach is there. I was fortunate to have Bill Parcells for 8 years around us, and he always had the right word, the right feel. In other words, if you weren't doing your job, not only physically, but doing your job of controlling the unit you're with on the offensive side, he'd let you know it. And wow, and he would let you know right in front of the whole team and loud. And but that was, so the truth was always there. Oh, you want me to do more of this? Okay. I thought I was, but apparently I'm not doing enough. And then, of course, you assess it yourself too. And you just get a great feel for what's going on, what you can say to certain guys. There'll be certain receivers you can yell at, or like, hey, I need this. And then there's another group you just, hey, that's okay. Come on. Sometimes you got to pat one group on the rear end, the other one you can yell at. And offensive linemen, hey, they're soldiers. So generally, overall, quarterbacks can yell at offensive linemen and get away with it. But you got to lead them too. And I always say this too, Pat. It's great when you're on a football team as a quarterback and your center is just the man. In other words, he's talented. He's got that natural leadership. And whatever you need as a quarterback, you just tell him, and he spreads the word and leads the group. And it's awesome to have. And I've told people, I had 2 or 3 of them in my career in the NFL. Bart Oates, Brian Williams. And then one year I had a guy, oh my God, I'm losing, Kevin Belcher. I don't know if he played 1 year, 1984. He was awesome. And then he was in a car wreck and his career was over. But he was a leader, energy, talent. Man, he just had everything. And when I heard that offseason he had that accident, I was like, wow, that was a big deal. But fortunately, we ended up picking up Bart Oates, who was a terrific center and a terrific player.
Very interesting, because they drafted John Michael Schmitz, obviously a rookie who had some ups and downs. And so you have Daniel Jones trying to helped John Michael grow into his second year, where he admittedly said, I need to be better than I was. But then also you drafted Schmitz because he had a lot of that experience
Yeah.
in college. I think he was a 6-year guy, and you're looking for that out of him as well. Some nasty and all of those things. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Pat, you bring up something. I'll just say this real quick.
Oh,
The
yeah,
two
go ahead.
positions that I have noticed that are really just keep elevating right now, and it seems like teams are not making many mistakes with this, is the center and the tight ends. I mean, the tight ends, oh my gosh, the league it's the new weapon. They're just everywhere, and they are coming out every year. And last year was historic as far as guys coming and the fact that they played so well. But the centers, I've noticed, and every year it's like down in Philadelphia, it's I'm losing his name right now. Well,
with
Cam Jurgens.
Yeah. Oh, Jurgens.
Cam
Okay,
Jurgens. Hey, he's been there 2 years. I liked him coming out in the draft. So they got a guy, I'm sure, learned, and it's got the personality and everything that you just talked about. He's probably going to show that for Philadelphia, and he's not going to be Jason Kelsey. And if he is, man, that's saying he's Hall of Fame worthy one day. But
it is interesting though, Phil, too. Like when you look at teams like let's say the Chiefs, who didn't have fantastic tackle play on their way to another Super Bowl, or even a team like the Texans, where they had injuries on the outside and throughout their line. People always said this with Tom Brady too, but the idea of really the strongest lines, obviously you want a great front five, but it's those 3 guys on the interior. It's almost like a referee. Like if it's bad, it ruins everything.
Right.
Right. If it's good, everything else can function. So I think you bring up a great point about kind of essentially right in the quarterback's face. It's like, start from a place of, from a stronger foundation, and having those guys up front protecting you there.
Well, let me say it this way,
yeah.
Pat, real quick.
Yeah.
Mike Shanahan, I did many Denver games when they were rolling, the 2 Super Bowls and all that. And it was a great learning experience for me, because he would say things I go, never thought of that. Damn. But the one thing about offensive line play, I brought it up to him one day, and he says, listen, I don't worry about the tackles. It's the center of 2 guards. I go, really? You're not concerned most about the tackles? He goes, we can help the tackles. I can help them. I can put a formation, tip them, whatever. We can't help the 3 inside guys. They're on their own. And I went, damn, that's a great comment. And it's, I've just kind of remember that. And I kind of let it go over my head sometimes when I need to talk about it more, because I think it's a great way to look at it. And everybody, we got to have the left tackle. Yeah, you want a good guy out there, but if you have the middle shored up, it makes it a lot easier for everybody else to get the job done. That's for sure.
Wow. And all these years later now, you look at some of these guards and what they're getting paid, like Robert Hunt from the Dolphins, Jonah Jackson from the Lions, these guys getting big money elsewhere in the free agent market. Kevin Dotson re-signing with the Rams. Teams are paying guards to reflect exactly the reality you just articulated. Real quick, before we get into the NFL draft, guys, the Giants brought in Drew Lock as Daniel Jones's backup, maybe a contingency plan if he's not ready week 1 or training camp, whatever it is. What do you like about Drew, a guy we've seen in Denver and in Seattle?
Yeah, well, I followed him close. I studied him a lot coming out. I liked him. I thought he was a possible first rounder because he has size, pretty good mobility. He's got a good arm, really good arm. And I thought, well, that'll translate well to the NFL. But he played in a really different offense, I thought, at Missouri. It didn't translate as fast as I thought. I thought I was very, I don't even know him, unhappy with his play in Denver. And I was really unhappy when he went to Seattle in that preseason 2 years ago, where it was him and Geno Smith, and the way he played, it was reckless. It just wasn't the way you should do this, try to compete. And it was a disaster. Geno wins the job. Geno probably would have won it anyway, but Drew Lock did not put a best foot forward there. But, and it's a big one. Last year in preseason, he was fantastic. He managed the game. You could see he had control of it. He made the right throws. It was really wow. And then he came in during the year when Geno was hurt. And the game against Philadelphia, holy Christ, he got hit every play. So did Geno when he was playing. Man, their O-line that's another subject. But he managed the game again. You could see all the things that we talked about, Pat. He had it that day, in that stint with Seattle last year. You could tell he was leading the team. The players like him. He made some great plays for them during the game, so that just elevates everything. And he really made tremendous strides. He really did. And, hey, look, if he has to play for the Giants, it won't be a big drop-off, that's for sure. And if he had to, I think he gives them – to say he's a good backup, that might be a little bit of an understatement. He's a good backup plus. So the Giants – I think it was a great deal for the Giants.
Great insight there. But, of course, he's here on a one-year deal, and Giants fans' minds already are thinking about if Daniel Jones doesn't work out, who's the next guy, especially entering a draft that you and Matt have been breaking down. Really a star-studded but also deep quarterback class in 2024 coming up in April. So I wanted to ask you about a few of these guys.
Go ahead.
And I wanted to start with J.J. McCarthy because there's been more smoke around him than most as far as the Giants are concerned. He's also been the most popular name seemingly. I know, people say this, like rising up draft boards. And the last thing I would add before you go is he says at the combine, Phil, that the Giants were translating play calls from Michigan's offense into Brian Daboll's and having him call them like that,
right,
to get him a feel for what it would be like to be in the offense. So what kind of quarterback do you see in JJ? What kind of fit do you potentially see with the team like the Giants as well?
Well, let's see. It's been a while since I've looked at him. I, put that out of, I don't know, probably more than me. You got a better 2 or 3 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago, we put these quarterbacks out.
Pre-combine,
Yeah, he was one. And I'll just say this. One, he's bigger than everybody thinks. His frame is slight. I mean, hell, he weighed 219. How big do you want him? And you can tell that he's trim, but he's muscled up. In other words, he's dense. So,
got it.
But he has the height. He's athletic enough. He can run. That's for sure. And I think the big thing about him when I was studying him, his arm is really good. He can throw the power passes, no doubt. The one thing you don't see a lot of, he was a one-speed thrower most of the time. He could be throwing a 5-yard out to the slot receiver. He's going to stick it out there. I mean, he rips it in there, which I love. But he doesn't really have the second layer. That I don't want to say he doesn't have touch. He does. But the guy that can really turn it over and make the ball go over the linebacker in front of the safety and the guy can catch it, those kind of throws. But he's talented. He's going to get them one day, or he might even already have them now with his private workouts, whoever he's working with. But my big drawback is lack of throwing in the college game for him. He played in a really tight pro-style offense. They had the plays in that NFL teams do, but only a few. And it wasn't like Jayden Daniels, who got to throw the 40 times every game. And he could run, and it's don't worry. I got the ball. I get to throw every play, and then sooner or later we're going to get it going. And it wasn't that way with JJ. So that's a little bit of a drawback for me, but not a great deal. And I like him a lot. But when I really judge it, I just don't see him being a top 6 pick.
Got it.
That's just my opinion right now. And
is he a first rounder in your mind, talent?
Oh yeah, he's a first rounder. Hey, look, size, mobility, and arm strength. Those are things you can build on. You got to don't ever tell me, because I'm just the worst about this, and you know it. Don't tell me, well, he's just got it. And I go, got what? What the hell are you talking about? And I need concrete. I need bricks, size, running. He's got a good arm. He can make all the throws on. I need that. Don't tell me he's got it. What the hell does that mean? He's got it. So that means you can't really define anything. So you give it this broad, well, he just got it.
That's an easy way out of the evaluation, right?
What's that?
That's an easy way out of the evaluation.
Well,
really.
It covers, I don't know what to say about it, but I don't hear it much anymore. I used to hear, well, he just has it. But some of that is true. Some guys really have a great feel on how to play, and it's going to translate almost right away in the NFL. But for him, he's the kind of guy, if he does get drafted high, let's say the Giants take him at number 6. Well, they're not going to rush it along. But by the time week 5 or 6 comes around in the season, depending on how the team is doing and how the quarterback's playing, they're going to be grooming him to get somebody ready like that. and that transition it'll be quick and painless. He's in, the guy's out. So
I was just gonna ask you that, this idea that he was more restricted in the offense he was in at Michigan, does that upside lend itself to him being more of an encouraging way, a developmental guy where, like you said, maybe it's not at 6, maybe the Giants trade up into the back of the first round to take a guy like JJ, and you sit him a little bit and he seasons and he develops a little and he learns before going in, and compared to some of these other guys in the quarterback
right.
class, is he more of a develop and play guy rather than throw him out there on the field?
No matter who drafts him or whatever, if he goes the second, third pick, whatever, if he goes there, it doesn't matter. I just can't see him being a day one starter.
Got it.
So, I just don't know if you have enough time to really get him ready. And standing on the sideline and watching another guy play and watching the team, it's a great experience. In other words, as you watch it, you go, oh, okay. You kind of learn to get a better feel for what's going on out there instead of practice and preseason games. Preseason, I got to be careful myself. I overjudge them. I mean, I act like it's the damn Super Bowl, and I'm like, oh, this guy didn't play well. And I mean, I just got to stop it because it's just not true. Preseason it's just a glorified practice,
right.
Maybe a little better than a practice. But yeah, he would be, but standing on the sideline, it takes the pressure off of you. And you get a chance to really absorb all that's going on. And then you watch practice and see how it all fits together and how the game comes around each week. And if you are a first round draft pick, most likely you're going to get on that field. The fans,
No
the media, everybody's going to call for him sooner or later. And I think doing it that way, though, really makes you more ready to go out there and do well.
No, completely agree. So the Giants, as you know, they prioritize, especially at the quarterback position. They like the height, size, speed, arm strength. Like those are things that matter to them, and to a lot of teams at the quarterback position. Drake Maye from North Carolina, he looks like the type of prototype that if you ask Joe Schoen, John Mara, and the Giants organization, what would you like your next quarterback to look like? He walks out of the laboratory. And you have your guy compared to JJ, but just as a prospect himself, what do you like about Drake Maye? Are there any holes in his game? Are you high on him? How do you feel about him?
Hey, look, I listened about him all year. I got it during the season. I love my job because on Saturdays I'm free. I've got all my work done, and I watch college football the whole day. And, but it seems like, I'm depending on if we had friends playing quarterback somewhere, whatever, that would make me watch them. But I didn't get to watch North Carolina on TV a lot. But I kept reading and hearing, Drake Maye, Drake. And, and I did as I watched him and everything, I said to, my son, Matt, when we talked about him, I just go, I was disappointed because he was built up so much by everybody that's what I expected to see. And listen, it was good. Size, he moves around well enough. When he connects it, in other words, when he does it right throwing, it's pretty borderline unbelievable. I mean, he can throw 40 and 50-yard passes, and I mean, it's accurate and everything works. But my only downside really with him was which I said, he just misses too many easy passes. You just can't. And there was reasons why. It's like why you hit a bad golf shot, Pat. Well, most likely you did something wrong.
Right. It was me. Right.
Yeah.
I want to blame everything else, but it was me.
That's where the ball was not on target. And I just saw a little of that, and I don't know who he's working with or whatever. But those things, as I watched it, can be fixed easily. But he is a good prospect. There's no doubt. I would say this, my guess, and I don't like to get ahead of it too much because I want to save it for when I really know more.
Sure.
But I don't think he'll be the third pick to the New England Patriots. That would be my opinion right now.
Interesting.
I look at the Patriots, not the Giants in the same way, but they're building, and let's kind of build it, not rush this quarterback thing. The Patriots just signed Jacoby Brissett. Let me tell you, Jacoby Brissett, he's a player. I mean, he can play. And everybody, oh, no, but we need the guy. Well, he might be the guy this year. And so I don't know, both teams, the Giants and the Patriots, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but I kind of look at it and just go, I won't be shocked. I'll be mildly surprised if both of them take quarterbacks in the first round.
All right. So this brings me to something I was going to ask later, but let's just do it now. So if the Giants were to trade up, like let's say, they might draft a wide receiver.
Right.
They might go elsewhere, position player. They have a lot of holes to fill in the roster. But just hypothetically, if that number 3 overall pick was available, or if any of those top picks were for sale, let's throw out Caleb Williams because I think, everybody believes the Chicago Bears are staying and taking him.
Yeah.
If you throw him out, if the Giants were to trade up, charge up the board to number 2, hard to imagine the Commanders would trade it, but to number 2 or 3 for a quarterback, who's the guy? Is there another guy outside of Caleb that you say, oh, it's by far this quarterback the Giants would go and get if the Patriots aren't drafting one, if those picks up there are available?
Well, there's a lot there. I would just say this. If it's not Caleb Williams, then don't trade up, Giants. If it's not Caleb Williams, Patriots, don't trade up. I just, I like Jayden Daniels a lot. But, I just kind of look at Fitz, the country, where it is in the Northeast. It's just a different style of football sometimes because, hell, last year, like the Jets, I can't remember thinking of all the Giant games. How many times they play in the rain? And it's,
right.
The wind and all this. So I take that into account a little bit. But I'm just trying to think. I mean, I like Jayden Daniels a lot. I think he's very polished, moves around really fast when he gets in the open field. Accurate, very accurate, gets rid of the football, maybe lacks a little arm strength. And when you talk about it that way, but he ran an offense that was talented with receivers. It was a really good system. It was absolutely pro football as close as you can get with the scheme on the offensive side. And he did a good job with it. So, but I don't know if I was the Giants or New England, I don't think I wouldn't trade up for him with the second pick of the draft.
So it's Caleb Williams and everyone else. It's not Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels and everyone else. Like you see Caleb that far ahead.
Yeah, listen, I don't know which one of these guys is going to look. I like Bo Nix. I like Drake Maye. I like him, but I'm just pointing out some of the things that worry me a little bit. And that's why teams are at the combine. They get to work him out, see him in person, interview. I mean, I wish I had that at my disposal. That would probably change my opinion on some of these things.
Yeah.
But it's a really good quarterback draft. I do like Bo Nix. I think Michael Penix will end up in a good spot. And once they see him throw a couple days in practice, the starting quarterback's going to go, this is crap having him around. Because, it's special when he throws the ball. There are things he needs to clean up and what he does. But just physically throwing the ball, I mean, he's good short. He can throw it down the field. I mean, he's got a tremendous arm, no doubt about it.
When you mentioned Drake Maye and some things in his game that could be fixed. So it's always easy to say, especially with Brian Daboll being here in New York. Of course, when Josh Allen got drafted, nobody thought he was going to be what he ended up being.
Did, but go ahead.
Okay, right. You did.
Okay.
Not many people. So the jump he made from year 1 to year 2, Josh Allen in the NFL, as far as his accuracy, his completion percentage, his production, his, not turning the ball over as much, basically across the board. Is it dangerous to look at a guy like Drake Maye, and especially since Daboll was the OC of Josh Allen, and to say he could do something similar with a player like that?
Well, I don't think, when I watched it, I didn't come when it was over, I didn't go, wow, he's going to be Josh Allen running the football. I didn't see that. And to me, it wasn't as mobile as Josh Allen. And, of course, his arm, it's really good, but it's not Josh Allen. And, Josh Allen, everybody talked about, I don't want to get going into, but when he was in college, how many guys in that football team he was on were drafted? Oh, that's right, none. I watched many of his games just because they were on late at night. I just, let me watch Wyoming. I go, this freaking quarterback, he's ridiculous. I mean, he's 1 for 5, but it's been 5 incredible. I mean, it was off the face mask. They weren't throwing screens, stuff like that. The build. If he'd have thrown as many screens as Baker Mayfield did at Oklahoma, his completion percentage was going to be way up. But I think if I remember right, they threw 12 screens the whole year. So,
wow.
I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying.
Why not? That's great stuff. You're on the
It's
board.
all true.
Yeah.
Oh, look, he's not accurate. He only could. I mean, I didn't almost get in fights, but I got in yelling matches about him after he was drafted. I go, you're nuts. I mean, even in Buffalo, they were crying and moaning they drafted him. And I went on the Buffalo radio station and I just said, the fans, you don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I wanted to say more than you don't know.
Well, I remember back then, because you were mentioning earlier about, when noise comes out about something, is it actually supposed to benefit one team or another? And I remember back then hearing people talking about how Josh didn't play with many other guys anywhere close to his talent level. And I remember trying to sift through, like, is this noise intended to like protect his draft stock, or is it the actual truth? And so we're not properly seeing the player on the field. Like, I remembered trying to sift through like what was the lies and what was the truth,
Well, I would just tell you, here's what happened a little bit. I can remember this. He never saw a throw that he didn't like. So, he was a very aggressive. I mean, so many deep throws down the field. Everything he saw. Well, I can get it there. I can get it in there, that kind of thing. And, decision making always helps your completion percentage too. When you don't take chances, you dump it to all that stuff. So, when I look at Drake Maye, just to kind of go back to that, it doesn't make me think about, this reminds me of Josh Allen when he came out. Well, the other thing about Josh Allen, I remember sitting in the studio at CBS, the opening game of the year. It's raining in Baltimore, Buffalo. Peterman, that's who it was the starter. He threw a bunch, 2, 3, or whatever. It's terrible. They put Josh Allen in. And, after he'd been in for a quarter, 2 quarters, I turned to Boomer and I said, "Are you watching the Baltimore game at all?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "I can't take my eyes off of it because it's either to the moon or it's a train wreck." It was unbelievable. And I said, Josh Allen, even then I can't. I said, Josh Allen's a must watch. But no matter what you think of him, it's exciting as hell because, he's holding on to it, running, making throws. And it was something. So that caught my attention right away. I could see his talent was going to translate. And then, of course, with experience, he started playing, of course, really well.
You said something about Josh that he never saw a throw he didn't like, and it made me think of, I was listening to your episode with Matt talking about Michael Penix Jr.
Oh,
And not that, I mean, you did say like he will get rid of the ball and throw it away and live to see another down.
right.
But that he's got such a good arm, he can make all the throws. And that made me think, like, I was there in Indianapolis at the combine in person watching him and McCarthy and Bo Nix and these guys throw.
Right.
And I was also at the Senior Bowl. And I know Penix and the success Washington had, it's already self-explanatory. But Phil, every time I see this guy throw, he's the best thrower on the field when I'm watching.
Yeah.
And so, if you're an NFL evaluator right now, you have the injury history, but to me, he seems like one of the most interesting and frankly, like tantalizing quarterbacks and players in this draft. But what do you see from Penix?
Well, I think I said this when we were talking about him. His arm is a detriment to him sometimes because he maybe stands in the pocket a little too long instead of just escaping. And then no matter what the window is, he's another one. If it's a 1-foot window 30 yards down the field, he goes, well, I'll throw it there. And it's his confidence is incredible. And so he is the guy, he could go in the first round. I don't know where. And if you told me he's going in the third round, I said, okay, that's the way it's going to be. The injury, all the years in college, doesn't maybe move around enough for a lot of people. But that was probably one thing that caught me, Pat. When I did watch him, I go, wow, I didn't realize he kind of pulled the ball down and moved and ran. It was more than I thought. So that kind of eased my thoughts about some of the things about him. When you really can throw, sometimes you just stand there and you just go, I'm waiting and something's going to come open, then I'll just smoke it in there. So he's interesting. If you like to really throw the football, then he's the guy to go get. He's one of the guys because I think he's a special thrower of the football. I remember seeing him his first game at Indiana. They were on at 12 o'clock. And Indiana the year before had a quarterback that I liked. And I see Michael Penix in there, and I just go, oh man, what are they doing? They had a good quarterback. They're ruining the whole thing or this and that. And after a few plays, I went, oh man, he can throw. Oh, he can run. So he was brought in to be a running quarterback, I think.
Yeah.
And the throwing right away, I can remember the first couple throws of his college career going, oh my God, that really looked good. And I didn't
Jumped
pay
off the
much
screen.
attention after that. I knew he got hurt. And then when he was at Washington, I followed him a lot. That's for sure.
All right. So you also mentioned, to round out a conversation about the top quarterbacks, you mentioned unprompted earlier that you really like Bo Nix.
Yes.
What do you love about Bo Nix? This is a guy who, not that this isn't the case for the other quarterbacks, but it sounds like everyone who meets him likes him, everyone who watches him likes him, everyone who works with him likes him. Just seems like a popular prospect all around. But why is he for you?
Well, I think he's a grown man, okay, in every aspect. He understands how to act, what to do, very studious, made great decisions. Maybe not an overpowering arm, but man, did I see him make a lot of good throws in games. I mean, a lot. And I just go, that was really NFL stuff as I watched it fly down the field. And so his father was a coach. So he's going to come in and not be awed by anything, just in my opinion. I mean, he's going to pick up the system. He's already got that mentality of an NFL quarterback. And I think the transition is going to be quite easy for him. And I look at teams, I don't know who really to look at and whatever. I did look at the Giants and think Bo Nix, is that going to work? Whatever. But I look at the Denver Broncos, and I say that because of this. Sean Payton wants to put a lot of stuff on the quarterback's shoulders, a lot, more than any coach in the league. And that's saying something. Maybe Kevin O'Connell is right there with him when he had Kirk Cousins. But they give you so much information, and they expect you to dissect it, apply it, and make it work. And that's who he's looking for. And so he's a good fit there. The question is Sean Payton happy enough with all the physical things to bring him in if he's there when they pick? That's going to be interesting.
In your mind, I know we're just talking, a month plus out from the draft, but like you said earlier that you didn't think, for example, that the Patriots would necessarily draft a Drake Maye at 3. It sounds like you'd be skeptical they might necessarily draft a quarterback at all.
Right.
But would Bo Nix be worth that pick to the right team in your mind based on your evaluation of him?
With the right team or with the Patriots?
With the right team.
With the right team? Oh, yeah. There's going to be I think there's going to be a couple teams that really like him. He's going to go. I don't know where he'll go. I think he'll go in the top half of the first round. I'm not going to get into where I think they're going because I haven't studied it enough and everything. But, yeah, he's I don't see a lot that would worry me about Bo Nix. I guess that's what I'm saying. Was that your question about?
Yes, exactly. Because it's, this time of year, well, you don't normally have a quarterback class like this where it feels like, let's say 5 could go in the first or, 4 in the top 10, 5 in the top 12. But then usually when noise gets that loud about that large group of QBs, there's always 1 to 2 of them where more of it's noise than not. And, on draft day, everyone says they're falling, but they're not falling. Their names were out there. They were a popular name, but it turns out, like in this class, I keep saying to people talking around the league, the quarterbacks are interesting, but it's not like these positions at, wide receiver, for example. There's some linemen. Like there's some really good position players who can help NFL teams now. And so I don't know if it's all hype with some of these guys, but that's why you really try to drill down into, okay, it's exciting to get a young QB in the building, but is it actually worth the value of the pick you're making, especially as the Patriots, the Giants, the Cardinals, these other teams at the top. Like, first of all, you don't know if you're going to be picking there again. But also the flip side is you have a lot of holes in your team, which is why you're losing and why you have a top 10 pick. So it just makes for a fascinating study and frankly, a difficult decision if you're, Joe Schoen or Elliott Wolf or any of these guys?
I don't think it's as hard as we think it is. Again, I'm going to go New England. They signed Jacoby Brissett. Whoever's drafted, if they do draft the guy at third, he's going to go up there and go, what the hell is Jacoby? Who the hell is he? I didn't know he was, he's big. He moves around well. Oh, he's got a really good arm. This is a pain in my ass. That's for sure. And that's what happens. He can be intimidated. So between him and then Drew Lock, which, got no fanfare, then I don't care. But Drew Lock is capable and has got the skills that we talked about. And that just makes me think why both of those teams are not, big time into taking a quarterback. Could I be wrong? Of course. And if they don't take one or two, my emotions are not going to change probably either way. But yeah, I think what you said is proper. There's other things they need to cover and do or whatever. And it maybe somebody moves up and they can move down and still get the guy they want or they thought they might take if they had to later in the draft. So that's possible. But right now, my guess is those two teams, like I said, I don't think either one will draft a quarterback. The two I feel great about, Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels to Washington. Those two,
1-2.
Yeah, I thought that from the word go. As soon as I saw who was hired in Washington, I went, okay, that sets up. Daniels makes the transition easier, and it will fit him better too, with Cliff Kingsbury being there.
All right. So right now I'm penciling in Caleb to the Bears, Jayden Daniels to Washington, and a Broncos trade up to 3 for Bo Nix. What do you think?
Oh, they're not going to trade up to 3. They don't have to. That's not going to happen. Let me do this one too. I heard on TV this morning, and then I watch a lot as I work, but I was just sitting drinking a cup of coffee maybe or tea. I probably drinking tea. And now it's looking like that they could take Caleb Williams and still have Justin Fields there. Ooh. If they do that, I would say this. It's time to get rid of everybody in the front office. Get rid of them all. Do you think you're going to go to training camp or OTAs or the offseason with those two quarterbacks out there? Oh, my God. To think that would be a distraction to the football team is the greatest understatement in history. That's every player is going to go, so who do you like your quarterback? And, they're like, to hell with the quarterback. I'm worried about me, whatever. It's crazy. And if they do that, then, hey.
Yeah, it sounds like I view that. I agree. I view that as a dearth of a market for Fields. It's just there's nobody offering them what they're looking for. I don't know where you think would be a good fit for him to go. Or for the Bears to try to send him. But it sounds, Mac Jones gets a 6th round pick only, going to Jacksonville. So that really sets kind of a low ceiling for the market for a guy like Fields, despite all the noise.
We're seeing some of these guys being signed. We're seeing the draft class, all that. Fields was in Chicago for 3 years. Yes, there's some bright moments, but this whole group, they act like that, teams are just frothing at the mouth. They need to come after him. There was a ton of really special plays, but when you watched it, I'd go, oh man, he's really getting it. He's learning. I could see the improvement. They're playing Washington on Monday Night Football or Thursday, whatever. And I'm watching him play and I go, wow, the coaches are doing everything for Justin Fields. This is working. And then, 4 weeks later, I'm going, hell, this is a disaster. And it was too up and down. So, yeah, I know he's physically gifted, but it's how he played, the recklessness of it sometimes. Mm-hmm. And, I love this one. Well, you got to build an offense for him. What the hell does that mean? We're going to run the triple option every play. Is that where, I heard so many things during the year. Then I would watch the tape and go, they designed a play. Here was my biggest problem. This guy running the end or running across the field is the number one guy you should look at. He's uncovered and wide open, and the throw was not even attempted or looked at. And that's probably what bothered me. Now, he did have some games where I thought his decision and processing was really good, but there's too much of the other, which everybody in the NFL has seen. So they know Chicago's in a tough spot. So why would you wait? Why would you give? It's going to go for a second and a third or maybe a one. And, nobody's going to do that unless they really get in trouble. So, Pat, I don't know. If you think he's going somewhere and they're going to get high draft picks, I got to see it.
No, I heard a few weeks back, I heard Mike Lombardi, the former GM on his podcast, he suggested that once no market existed, that the Eagles could be a team that swoops in with like a late conditional pick and makes him Jalen Hurts' backup. That sounded like a sensible resolution. Certainly more so than him staying in Chicago. We appreciate your candor.
Well, let me say this to you.
Yeah.
Listen, if he goes to Philadelphia, I understand the football end of it because he plays a little bit like Jalen Hurts, except he's faster. His arm is noticeably better. And that is just not going to – that's oil and water there.
You think that creates a legit competition?
Oh, right away. They're just, right away, the fan base, they'll throw you under, hey, the fan base has nothing in here. Well, and preseason football, Justin Fields running plays with Kellen Moore in preseason football. Come on, he'll tear it up. And then you just paid Jalen Hurts all this money, or he's getting all this money. Well, you're really, I guess my answer is this. That ain't going to work.
Yeah. No, well, you're alluding to something that I've heard too around the league is that's a delicate situation in Philly right now. Like, exciting that they get Saquon Barkley. They have a lot of weapons, but really it's easy to sit here and view them. I think some people still view them as the team they were going to the Super Bowl, losing to the Chiefs 2 seasons ago.
Right.
But they're not that team right now. I mean, maybe they get back to that, but that's not where they are. And that's certainly not where Hurts is.
Well, I never really got off the train last year with them because I watch them loaded with the talent was real. When you have a good offensive line and you got a mobile quarterback and you got 2 number 1 receivers, come on. I don't know what to say. And to say it was disappointing to watch their offense as the year went along, and then it just slowly kept going downhill. And the playoff game, come on, that was a disaster. Todd Bowles is blitzing us. Oh, wow, what a shock. Todd Bowles blitzing? I mean, I didn't see one answer in the whole game for it. By the quarterback, the coordinator, the play call, nothing. And that's when, I'm sure, when the game was over, they go, we got to change a lot of stuff here because they gave it plenty of time and it never turned around.
Horrendous finish by the Eagles. Be fascinating to watch. Want to finish on one non-quarterback Giants question for you.
Oh, great.
The blockbuster trade and contract Joe Schoen gives to Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers. Phil, how much have you seen of Brian Burns? What do you like about him? And can he be the next great New York Giants pass rusher?
Well, what I've seen them all. I watched him a lot during the season. And when the Giants traded for him, I just want to go throw the bat down, circle the bases, because it's a home run.
Oh.
It's a home run. And he is, once they made the trade, I said, well, let me just go watch him again just to see what I think. And I went, oh, my gosh, Carolina, you must be loaded just to let the Giants get him. And I understand the money and all that. Pat, good against the run. Chases down from behind, always hustling. And, that the thing about defensive pass rushers, how many sacks did you get? Oh, how many pressures? How many times did you just mess up the play and somebody else got it that we don't count? He is both. He's a tremendous pass rusher, and he is mess up the play guy too. I mean, he crushed tackles, everything. I mean, I can't tell you. And like I said, I watched Carolina's every game this past year because I wanted to see their quarterback and let me watch the team and not Doug Peterson. Come on, Frank Reich.
Oh, Frank
so
Reich.
I was following him early, and I just kept going, damn, it's Brian Burns. He's just everything I've heard, watching. So it's a home run for the Giants. It literally can have the impact of just having the quarterback or having the quarterback come in and be the guy too. I really think he's that good, that instrumental. He's going to change offenses. You've got to pay attention to him. And now with Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side, who I thought overall came around quite a bit this past year. So this has a chance to change their football team big time.
Interesting. And he looks pretty clean in that number 0 too. Have you seen that yet? With all these defenders using the single digits.
Yeah, but when I saw him in person, I guess, was it today or yesterday, I couldn't get over how big he was. On the field, he looks trim, and of course, he's extremely athletic. But in person, just watching him around other people, go, damn, what is he like? I didn't ever look and see how tall he is and whatever, but he looked like a damn giant next to a lot of people. That's for sure. But it was, Pat, I'm not overstating it. In my opinion, it was truly a home run for the Giants. And I wish I could do this more. When I just pick out one player in the league and just watch him, it's interesting. A lot of times my opinion will go up or down. Oh, he has a lot of sacks. And then I watch it and go, he got like half the sacks because he did nothing and it just came to him or whatever. And then, of course, there's the opposite of guys go way up on your radar because of how good they are. So.
No, you're absolutely right. Context matters. That's it. When you cover a single NFL game as a reporter, it always is fascinating because, at the end, there's always there's a top headline, right?
Right.
But there's always so much that has happened in those 4 quarters and, 5 if there was an overtime where one play could have flipped it. Or like you said, one guy gets the sack, but one guy actually created the play. So the game-changing stat goes to this guy, but the game-changing play actually goes to, let's say, the defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence, who pushed the line back into the quarterback who rolled out and got sacked by Kayvon Thibodeau, whatever the case may be. No, so you're absolutely right. But I'm so grateful that you came on here. And we talked a lot of Giants, but we went around the league. We went into the NFL draft. We went into the quarterbacks. We love, your expertise, your analysis. You're one of the hardest workers in the biz. One of the,
let me Pat. I love it when people go, what do you do during the week? I said, well, I watched all the games. I mean, it's great because I want to see them. I'm always curious. Why did this happen? Whatever. And they go, you watch all the games? And I go, yeah, man, it's tough for a living. I got to watch football games. And then everybody goes, oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, it's fun. It really is. It's fun. Like you said, when the game is over, where do we get it down to? What was the play? What was the play call? Whatever that helps decide it and puts teams in certain situations. That's the fun part that I like about my job is that.
And what I respect most,
the narrative is this, but then when I study it and watch it, I go, the narrative is just off the cuff, the top of our head. It's not true anymore. Here's the truth. That's what's fun about watching all the games and finding out.
Phil, what I respect most about you is you understand that it's okay to be critical and constructively critical. And we don't have to just praise people. It's important to give people credit and point out what athletes and coaches and general managers are doing well. But fans want to know the truth and they want to know the real part of football and what's going on. And I always get frustrated when you and I both know that the coaches and the players and the front offices, they're harshly criticizing and critiquing themselves and each other day in and day out to try to get better. And I just don't think enough people do what you do, which is show people how the game is really coached and evaluated and discussed.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I hope many guys are doing it and more than ever because they're trying to stay on top of everything. But when I remember getting into the business, everybody goes, well, can you criticize the players? And I go, my job is going to be this. And I'm not thinking that I got to criticize people. I'm going to try to tell the truth. And I owe that to the NFL, to the players and coaches, and to their families, and to the fans. What do fans know? They know what they hear and what they read. So how else are they going to know? Somebody's got to give them this knowledge or whatever. So, and I do it because when people say things, let's just say about a certain player that I know are not true, well, I can't wait to talk about it and correct it. And I don't say the guy, because I know a lot of times people, there's not enough time to prepare all the stuff you want. And so they don't, but it doesn't matter. By God, they're going to go out there and give a strong opinion. That's what it's about. Got to give a strong take.
Right.
No, how about giving me the truth? That's what I want to know. And then I can tell
Amen.
right away when they're bouncing around and I go, he didn't watch nothing, or
right.
whoever. I right. know right away.
Oh, totally. You can tell. You can watch a show and you can tell within 2 minutes who prepared, who watched, who didn't.
Yeah. And, you know, too, some jobs by many people in the business, there's no way you can cover it. But that's why you give a broad opinion, but you have people tell us the truth. And, you know, so that's the way I've always felt about it. And that'll never change because I love what I do. And I don't know who said this to me once. Well, Sims, if you can't play, you might as well talk about it. I go, yeah, that's where I'm at. Can't play anymore. You kicked me out, but it's all good. So, hey, I want to say this too.
Sure.
You know, you listen. Thank you for listening to the Sims Complete podcast and listen to the quarterbacks. We're going to delve into all these other quarterbacks. I mean, I think we're going to end up going probably close to about 20 different ones because there's going to be some 5th and 6th rounders and 7th or free agents that are going to have a chance to make football teams, and they have a chance to go upward. In other words, when you have something that we can see right now, size, speed, throwing, a bit, whatever it is, experience, just, you know, there's guys out there that fit the prototypes, what NFL wants. And maybe they didn't quite have the careers they were expecting in college, but they have a chance to show it in the pro football game for sure. So,
we'll look for that because it sounds like I was so focused on the top of the draft. Maybe the Giants can find some value in the later rounds on a young developmental guy.
There's no question, Pat. I'm telling you, the 5th round comes around, call me during the draft. And I'll say, this guy is really a 3rd rounder. But usually what we see now with the quarterbacks, there's a group that goes, and then maybe there's a 2nd or 3rd rounder. Then it's just everybody waits until they start going off the board. Then, well, we better get one. It's what we saw last year, and I think we're going to see that quite a bit this year too. Because there's a lot of guys, a lot of QBs in college or going to the pros that probably are worthy of being on a roster, or, you know, a lot of them are going to be on practice squads. But there's quite a big group. It's been surprising to me as I watched some Joe Milton at Tennessee. Man, if he's there in the 5th round, my ass is taking him.
Yeah.
It's just too, I'd like to meet him and where to work out and all that too, but it's just too enticing. He's got things that we can see. And there's, like I said, there's a few of those. So me and Matt, my son, Matt, we're going to get into them and talk about them and, you know, try to stay on top of it as much as we can.
Well, we will tune into all of those episodes on the Sims Complete podcast with Phil and Matt on the Believe Network. This has been the Talkin Ball with Pat Leonard podcast. Remember, we are sponsored by Bet Online, also by Estate 98 Coffee. It's an Essencia Day Cafe from El Salvador, dates back to 1798. You drink tea, I drink coffee, Phil, but we're both watching the film. We're both watching the games. So we appreciate your time, expertise, and thanks for joining us. The great Phil Simms.
All right. Everybody. Thank you, bud.